All right, well, my name's John Luft. I'm the program manager for the Great Salt Lake Ecosystem Program, and that's part of the Division of Wildlife Resources. A lot of people think when you talk about us as we're lighting fires, buzzing around in airboats, and catching baby ducks, but it's a lot more than just that. When we, as the Division of Wildlife, we serve the people of Utah protecting and managing wildlife populations, and that's usually through habitat conservation that we do that. So when we're talking about wildlife with division or with Great Salt Lake, we're mostly talking about migratory birds, and Great Salt Lake serves as a oasis in the desert. It's the crossroads of the West. We usually get 12 million birds annually that come through Great Salt Lake. That's represented by 330 different species of birds that we've documented here. And at our fall migration, we're always over 1 million water birds here at the lake. So you can see how important it is. And if you look at that graphic, I guess I can't see. Right here is the lake. That's kind of a hub where it spokes out from there, and that's where the birds concentrate and focus. So I just listed a few of these species here. I didn't want to get too comprehensive when looking at these birds. So got the two phalarope species, marble godwits, eared grebes, and pintails, and tundra swans. This just represents 6 different species, but if you look at the numbers here, that's close to 7 million birds that are just with this 6 species. So pretty easy if you got over 330 that you're going to get to 12 million. So what features at Great Salt Lake affect the avian abundance? One, its global setting. It's recognized regionally, nationally, and hemispherically as an important area for birds. It's the largest water feature in the Great Basin, which is a remnant of the old Lake Bonneville. And it's located in this cold desert region where places for fattening, molting, and feeding are very few and far between. They're vast distances apart, so it makes it that much more important. And it's also positioned along this major migration corridor, which encompasses both Central and Pacific Flyway. So what are some of the other characteristics about the lake that make it important? Well, its proximity to the Wasatch Front. You got the 4 major riverine systems that flow into the lake, which is the Bear, the Ogden and Weber drainages, and then Jordan River on the south end. And 75% of all wetlands in Utah are at Great Salt Lake. It's a terminal lake. That's what makes it saline, because the minerals don't escape there. You got this low gradient bottom. A lot of people like to equate the Great Salt Lake as a giant bathtub, but it's probably more aptly described as a giant dinner plate. So it has this shallowness to it, and that creates this highly transitory shoreline, which then exposes mudflat and covers it up on on almost daily basis, which then allows for these wading birds to feed in these locations. And that's exactly why you get the birds coming here, is for that abundant food resource. And it's also important all throughout the year. You obviously have the major migration periods of the spring and fall, but also summer nesting, breeding birds here. And then in the dead of winter, just because the lake doesn't freeze, we also have some high numbers of birds in the wintertime, like top 10 in the wintering population of bald eagles, as well as the largest inland wintering population of common goldeneye. So Great Salt Lake is not one homogeneous unit. It is separated into these distinct ecological units. And each one of these are separated by a man-made causeway. And what makes them distinct from one another is the salinity in each one of those areas, with Bear River being the freshest, then Farmington Bay, usually 1 to 5%, and then Gilbert Bay, or the south arm of the lake, is typically between 10 and 15%, and then Gunnison Bay is at saturation over 27%. So what do we do as the Division of Wildlife? For the most part, you can categorize what we do under 3 different things, which is research, management, and conservation. That's actually on our boat, printed on our boat. So everything that we do can be put in one of those 3 categories. I listed a bunch of the research projects that we're currently working on right now here. Then, of course, when it comes to management, we're looking at the brine shrimp harvest, as well as the 12 waterfowl management areas that we oversee. And then when it comes to conservation, we're looking at the monitoring or the surveys that we do on the lake. So you can separate Great Salt Lake into the 2 sides, whether it's the pelagic or open water environments, or the wetland management of the lake, which is the marshes that we cover. And we have in those 12 WMAs, we cover over 150,000 acres of wetlands, or manage those, which has over 800 different water control structures that need to be adjusted on a regular basis, 200 miles plus of dike that need to be maintained. And then, like Keith was talking about with habitat management, whether it's taking care of the Phragmites here, wetlands plantings for good, the good plants, the native plants that we're looking for. Grazing also, we coordinate that, as well as carp control to try to limit the carp in some of our impoundments to make sure that there's a good aquatic vegetation for these birds. Then we band over 5,000 birds each year on each one of the marshes. And I guess I have to charge Ben for using this slide here, because this is the food web for the pelagic portions of the lake. And we cover every aspect of that's listed here, from the nutrients that come into the lake that then are taken up by the phytoplankton and the microbialites that are then consumed by the brine shrimp and the brine flies, and ultimately go into the birds. And we all aspects of our research and monitoring go into this food web. So the 2 major zooplankton on the pelagic side of things are the brine shrimp and brine fly. It's not very diverse, but it is very productive. And we track both life cycles of the brine shrimp and the brine fly. Of course, with brine shrimp management, it supplies 50% of the worldwide demand. It's a major aquaculture industry food item, and last year we harvested about 41 million pounds. If you take 1 eared grebe, it will eat 30,000 brine shrimp per day. That's 1 eared grebe that will eat that, and we have sometimes as many as 5 million. And our job is to ensure a sustainable harvest while protecting the ecosystem, which is the food for those birds. Last thing I'm going to mention is just avian disease that we monitor. We're currently working on a botulism study with USU. Had avian cholera outbreaks, of course, West Nile. We test for avian influenza, and then have been recently testing for eggs for selenium. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what we do as far as managing wildlife, and how come Great Salt Lake is important. And yes, we do light fires, buzz around in airboats, and catch baby ducks too. Thanks.